So you just got the game and started playing, or are about to play, and you're wondering what the hell is going on and what you're supposed to do, and you're looking for some pointers, right? You came to the right place. One thing I want to cover is the first 10 minutes of gameplay, so let me just jump right into it now. I'll discuss some deeper issues later in the video. Once you've created a world, you're dumped into the starting zone. Note that most starting zones are similar. A little bit of water, a little bit of wood, and then whatever you set for the resources. Large, small, rich, thin, etc. At the very beginning of the game, you're starved for resources. To get things going, you need iron, copper, coal, and stone. 2 of those can be very quickly obtained by mining huge rocks. There are usually a few about in your starting area, so head to them and mine them up. One trick is that mining goes much faster if you have an iron pick. It's worth it to spend some of your starting plates on an iron pick. There's only 3 options here: your fists, an iron pick, or a steel pick. You can see which you have equipped down in the bottom right corner of the screen. Of the 8 icons there, the one in the top left slot is your pick. The most important resource in the game is iron. You'll use more of that than of any other resource. Head to the iron ore patch and plop down your mining drill, and right next to it a steel furnace. Make sure there's coal on the drill and the furnace and let them run for a while. If you need to rotate the drill to make sure the output arrow points into the furnace, press the R key. You can wait around for a while for more iron plates to be finished smelting. Now you're going to want maybe about 8 total drills and 6 furnaces, so build what you can by hand. Note that a drill requires a furnace, which means that 1 furnace is consumed when you create a drill. If you don't have the intermediate product already built and you queue something up using the manual build interface, the intermediate object will be automatically queued and built for you. You get some coal by mining huge rocks, but now it's time to place some drills on the coal, as you're going to be consuming a huge amount of coal eventually. Head over to the coal patch and place 2 drills facing each other. This configuration only takes 1 piece of coal to get started and will run until both drills are full of coal, which means 50 coal each. You'll also need a bit of copper, but not nearly as much copper as iron. If you've got 2 drills and 2 furnaces spare and ready to go, head on over to your starting copper patch. Place the 2 drills and 2 furnaces down, make sure they all have coal, and let them run. If you ever run out of coal, the benefit of the starting area is that it shouldn't be a long run back to the coal patch to pick up more. Now you've got 3 sets of drills running. Just run from one to the next, picking up what materials are done, making sure they're stocked with fuel, and craft a few more drills and furnaces. In my case, I saw a couple more huge rocks nearby, so I went and hit them up. It's going to take a while to accumulate the resources I need to set up power, so instead, let me talk about the game in general for a bit. I'm not sure who first came up with the phrase, but I've seen it around. Factorio is a game where you kill aliens by building conveyor belts. Factorio is a sandboxy survival base building game. You actually win the game by launching a rocket into orbit, although you can keep playing after that. When you play the single player game, usually something like winning or accomplishing some achievements is the goal. In multiplayer games, people play for the fun of it, to build a giant base and to see and learn from other players' tricks and habits. Winning means launching a rocket, so let me outline that for a bit. You need to research the requisite technology, plus build a launch pad, a satellite, and a bunch of rocket parts. 3,000 different parts, actually. The research is at the heart of most of what you do in the game. The vast majority of what you mine will go to research, with a tiny trickle left over for building armor, guns, turrets, and walls. You're not so much killing aliens by building conveyor belts as you are unlocking the secrets of rocket science by manufacturing science potions. In order to do research, you need power, labs, and research kits. When you first start the game, you don't have power, no factories, and not even the ability to build factories, which are called assemblers in-game. Luckily, you can build enough by hand and with a few resources that you start with to get going. To get started with power, I suggest 1 offshore water pump, 1 pair of underground pipes, 1 boiler, and 2 steam engines. The reason for the underground pipes is to make it easier to run around the area. 1 boiler powers 2 steam engines, so you don't need to worry about some funny ratio of boilers to engines. Just this basic setup. Note that steam engines will complain about being unpowered, that is, they'll show a blinking power icon, unless there's a power pole nearby. And don't forget to fill up the boiler with coal. Next up is research. Handcraft your first 10 science packs, and this is something that you have to do by hand. You'll also need one of those wooden power poles and a research lab. Make sure the lab is connected to power and the science packs are in the lab and you're off to the races. From here on out, the game is, well, roughly all the same. Add more mines to pull more ore, upgrade your smelting layout to fit more furnaces in, and add more factories to create more research packs. Sometimes you'll replace an old building with a newer version. For example, steel furnaces are much more effective than stone furnaces. Sometimes you'll have to deal with a whole new line of products, such as oil. And often you'll unlock a new science pack, and then you'll have to create a ton of new infrastructure to create the items for the packs. 5 to 10 assemblers for the science pack themselves, and of course route plates and plastic and everything else that you need to get all of the assemblers working. How you play from here is really a matter of style. I'll note that there's roughly 3 general factory layouts: ad hoc, chains, and bus. An ad hoc layout is one where you just put a factory wherever you find room for it and wherever there's a belt nearby that has what you need. Production chains usually feed off just a few core lines, such as iron and copper, and build whatever intermediate products they need and then spit their final products into, say, a chest somewhere. Bus layouts concentrate on that last bit. Their designs dominated by a giant swath of belts carrying a wide variety of materials. Again, there's 2 common approaches. One belt for each type of material, and an alternate layout where only the most common types are on the main bus and everything else is done on a chain fed off of the main bus and then ending up, again, as usual, in a chest somewhere. The bus design I like has 4 belts of iron, 4 of copper, and then 4 or 8 or 20 more belts filled with a bunch of other products, often including stone, coal, steel, green or red or blue circuits, plastic, and sometimes up to 4 lanes of pipes, usually carrying water, lubricant, and at least sulfuric acid. And I don't remember what the 4th one would be. Of course, you can use any of these designs or none of them. Build your own factory the way you want to. That's the point and the fun of the game. As you start playing, it's useful to know about a handful of key shortcuts. You can select anything on your tool belt by pressing numbers 1 through 5 on your keyboard to get the left 5 items, and Shift 1 through Shift 5 to get the right 5 items. Eventually you'll have another row of shortcuts down there, and pressing X will cycle you between the rows. Pressing Alt will toggle the display of recipes over assemblers, refineries, and a handful of other buildings. Pressing Q clears the cursor, pressing E opens the inventory and crafting window, M opens the map. Note that the E key closes the inventory and can close the map, but you might want to muck with key bindings to find something that you like better. F picks up items from the ground, and Z drops them again. When you're placing buildings, sometimes rotation matters, especially when you're dealing with fluids. Pressing R will rotate what you're building. When you come up on biters, which are the name for the aliens in this planet, there's 2 important keybinds to note. Space will shoot the nearest enemy, and Tab will cycle through your available weapons. Pressing C will shoot at your current target, that is, whatever your mouse is over, or if there's nothing there, you'll shoot at the nearest enemy in that direction. Down in the bottom right corner of the screen, there's a 4x2 arrangement of icons. The top left icon is your current axe. The 3 options here are bare hands, an iron axe, and a steel axe. Axes make it faster for you to chop trees, manually mine ore, and to remove buildings. The bottom left icon is your current armor. There's 2 basic armors and they can't be repaired. If enough biters munch on you, eventually the armor will degrade and go away. Modular armor, which is much more advanced in the tech tree, works the same way, but generally you put shields into modular armor. Shields will be a purple bar that shows up in roughly the same place that your health bar does. The other 6 icons in the bottom right corner are your 3 weapons, and you can put whatever weapons you want into these 3 slots. The top icon is a weapon, and the bottom one is ammo. Weapons include the gun, and every time you start a new game or die and respawn, you'll start with a gun. Also, there's a shotgun, a machine gun, and a rocket launcher, and I think a few more. And definitely, there are mods out there that will give you a much wider range of weapons as well. Pressing tab will cycle between your weapons. Grenades and combat robots are not weapons so much, and instead you use them from your toolbar rather than from the weapons bar. You can also copy and paste recipes. It's possible to do this to a whole variety of things, but the most useful place is on assemblers. Let's say you have one assembler making copper circuits, and you decide to place 3 more assemblers down to make the same thing. Instead of going into each new assembler and choosing a recipe, you can copy the recipe from the first assembler. That's by pressing Shift right-click, and then paste that recipe into other assemblers by pressing Shift left-click. That should be enough to get you going. There are, of course, a ton of advanced topics for Factorio, and I'll get into them in other videos. For now, you should know enough about the game to get out there and conveyor belt your way to victory. Check out my other videos, look for tips and tricks, strategies, common factory designs, and guides to the achievements. Subscribe if you're interested in those sorts of videos coming up. Please click on like and consider subscribing. Good luck and have fun.